Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to be talking about hiring a second shooter. So let's say that you have a wedding on the books and you need a second shooter to work with you and you are just now trying to figure out what is the best way to approach this. So that's what this video is about today. I'm going to be giving you just a couple of tried and true tips for making sure that you get the best possible second shooters, that you have a great experience working together, and that everything works out the way both of you guys want and it doesn't become one of those photography disaster stories that you read about in Facebook groups. So if you're new here, I'm Joy and I help photographers in both the photography and business side of things each and every week here on my channel. So if you haven't already subscribed, be sure to do so before you leave today so that you don't miss out on next week's upload. So the first thing that you need to do before you hire a second photographer, or really anybody to come work with you as a photographer, is to get a second photographer contract. This is the first step, and this is really something that I think a lot of photographers skip in the beginning because maybe you're hiring a friend, or maybe you just don't think, it's a big deal. It could be small, it could be unpaid or something like that, and this is a huge pitfall. So be sure to get yourself legally covered. I really love and trust the Legal Page contracts. So I will link her contracts down below. I have a discount code for you guys as well, but the first thing you need is a contract so that you're on the same page with the second photographer that you're going to be working with. The reason you want to use a contract is because it's going to cover you both in an instance where maybe there's a misunderstanding, or maybe one or both of you don't fulfill your end of that contract. It really helps to give you a baseline for what is expected, which leads us to tip number 2, which is to set your expectations really clear with your second shooter when you're first working with them. So I like to set my expectations in a couple of different categories. I like to let them know what I expect from my second shooters as far as photographs. So are they going to be working alone or with me throughout the entire wedding day? Now, with me, I have my second photographer work with the groomsmen alone and shoot the room and the reception if I'm doing family formals. So there are parts of the day that they are shooting independently, and that's really important that you think through what your expectations with your second shooter is going to be. Now, are they going to be shooting on their own gear or your gear? Are they going to be using your memory cards and then handing those memory cards back? What is the pay? What is the transportation going to look like? And what is the dress code? Now, yeah, this might sound a little extra to some of you, but I do give all of my second photographers and team members a guide for what to wear when they're representing my company at a wedding. Now, this might to some of you feel like way over the top, but after having a few second photographers show up to my weddings in jeans that were technically black tie, I knew that it couldn't happen again and that I needed to be very clear in my communication for not only what I expected both photographically, but what I was expecting them to wear and how they were going to represent my brand at weddings. So these are all some things that you need to be thinking through as you're talking to potential photographers to bring on as your second shooter. All right, so you have your contract, you know your expectations. Let's talk about actually finding a good quality second photographer. Now, personally, I like to ask people that I know for references or recommendations rather before I go to the internet. So I will start with reaching out to reputable photographers in my area and asking them if they know anybody who does second shooting and would be interested in second shooting for me. I will reach out on local Facebook groups, but I also have used my own audience, like my own Facebook page, to source other photographers to hire. So be sure to use your own social media platforms, your own private connections, as well as Facebook groups when you are searching for a photographer. So when you're looking for a photographer, be sure to share what you are willing to pay a second shooter. You're gonna find that prices for second shooters do vary quite a bit. You can pay anywhere from $30 to $55 an hour for a second photographer depending on their skill, their gear, and your geographical area. Now, for associate shooters, that's gonna be more like $100 an hour because associate shooting is different than second shooting. As you're searching for second photographers, be sure to meet as many as you can in person if possible. You're really trying to get a feel for people's personalities here. You're trying to figure out if you're a good fit and if they're going to be reliable and someone that you can count on to show up to one of your wedding days. So meet as many as you can, find somebody that you feel like you could actually work with and enjoy. And then my biggest tip to you is when you find a good second shooter or an assistant, hold on to them, treat them well, do what you need to do to keep them on your team, because your team really does make or break the experience on a wedding day. And I know personally, without a phenomenal assistant and a great second shooter, I'm not able to make the work that I have made at weddings happen. It's just not possible. I am not a one-woman show. So realizing the importance and honoring that space for that second shooter in your life and saying, hey, I love working with you, I'm gonna do whatever it takes to keep you, is going to be a huge tool in how your success of your business goes. So realizing that these team members are actually huge pieces of our success is huge. So hold on to them. When you find a good one, do not let it go easily. And I wish you all the best of luck as you find a second photographer. Okay, so the question of the day is, have you ever hired a second shooter, or have you been hired as a second? And what was your experience like? Leave it in the comment section below. Give us your experience. Let's keep the conversation going. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you next week. Bye, guys.